Sneha and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what is Uniswap, how does Uniswap work, and how you as an investor slash developer get started with Uniswap. So without any further ado, let's get started. So Uniswap is basically a decentralized exchange that allows you to trade any particular token for any other token. So let me take a minute and talk about decentralized exchanges. If you have not checked out my video on DeFi, then definitely check that out because that will help you with some of the concepts that I'll be getting into ahead. But more or less, a decentralized exchange can be defined as a trading platform where you can exchange assets for other assets, and it does not need any particular central authority involved. So your funds are not being held by the central authorities at any particular time, and all the transactions are on-chain and transparent for anyone to see. This actually resembles the barter trade system where let's say you can just trade apples for oranges, and you don't actually need to convert your apples into cash and then into oranges, and it eliminates the need of having any intermediary currency to actually facilitate this transaction. But how is this even possible? So traditional finance or centralized exchanges used to rely on something called order books, and that is what you see on the exchanges like $0 or Binance. What they do is that you as a buyer can place a buy order at some particular amount, and someone else places a sell order at a particular amount, and they just match the buyer and the seller together to facilitate the transaction. Since all the trades have to be on chain, this is going to be a very expensive affair in terms of gas to maintain all of this on chain, and this also means that the centralized exchange will be holding your funds. So in order to do it in a decentralized fashion, we came up with the concept of automated market makers. The term sounds really terrifying, but it is a way of facilitating these transactions through demand and supply. And I'll just break it down for you. So going back to example of the barter trade, if we have to exchange something like apples and oranges, and we also have to make sure that no central authority is holding the funds at any particular moment. So effectively, this means that since we are eliminating the concept of order book, if I have to buy something, that does not actually need to be a seller at the other end. So this token has to come from like a reserve of some sort. And that is exactly what a liquidity pool is. So a liquidity pool is created when a lot of users or liquidity providers come together and they provide their funds. For this example, let's say we have two tokens, apples and oranges. So they provide apples and oranges and they create a reserve out of it. And any person like you or me can then just come and say like, hey, I have apples, can I have some oranges? And we can just facilitate the transactions. But why would anyone provide liquidity to the pool? So the reason they do this is because they earn a fee of 0.03% on every transaction on Uniswap. So now coming back to the AAM concept, so we have established that we have a liquidity pool and the users can come in and they can exchange their assets based on it. But then you might have the question that how is the pricing decided? So Uniswap relies on a pricing mechanism which is like a mathematical formula which says x into y is equals to k, where let's say x is the number of apples and y is the number of oranges, and it always has to be some constant k. And what this actually implies is basically just supply and demand. Through this equation, the pricing at any particular point is decided. So let's say there are 10 apples and 5 oranges in the pool, which makes the constant Flippy. So in this example, if I have to take an apple out of this liquidity pool, then that would mean that our number of apples drop down to 9. And the equation would be 9 into x is equals to 50. Which would give us x would be around 5.555, which rounds off to basically 5.56. So which means that we have to supply 0.56 oranges to get that one apple out. And if you attempt to take another apple out of this equation, that is, if the number of apples in the liquidity pool would be 8, then x would have to be 6.25. Which basically just shows the concept of supply and demand, meaning that if we attempt to take out more apples, then its demand starts going up and its price appreciates relative to the oranges. So this is pretty much the concept of AAMs, liquidity pools, and how this whole thing works on Uniswap. Uniswap is one of the most widely used decentralized exchanges out there because it supports multiple networks, and it also provides for really, really low gas fees on the transactions. With the new V3 version of Uniswap, they have introduced a concept called concentrated liquidity, which allows liquidity providers to generate even high returns on their investments. On the governance side, Uniswap has its own token called UNI, which is a governance token, and its price has been appreciating since its advent. Holding a token means that you can be a part of voting and making decisions for the Uniswap protocol. On the developer side, Uniswap is one of the most forked decentralized applications, and a lot of new exchanges coming in use the code from Uniswap and try to improve upon it or try to build a niche upon it. The documentation that they provide is really good and definitely something worth checking out. So this was more or less an introduction to Uniswap and how Uniswap works. If you like the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'm mentioning a lot into Web3 and blockchain these days, so definitely stay tuned to my channel. Another news, I've started a community called Build Space Women, that we meet, support each other, and build together in the Web3 space. If there's something that's interesting to you, then I'll put the Twitter channel link in the description below. So do consider checking that out as well. Alright, that's it for the video. I'll see you. Bye bye.